Hey man, nobody wants to record vocals all dry, you know? We need a little juice on it so we can feel it. Oh, what's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Wavy Wayne from Wavy.wav.com. And of course, this channel is all about helping you to record and mix better and faster. So go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Now, today's video, I'm gonna be addressing a topic, man, about like, how do you record with effects, right? A lot of us might just start out with a blank Pro Tools or Logic or Studio One or Fruity Loop session even, and just record vocals in completely dry, no reverb, no auto-tune, no delay, none of that, man. Today, I'm going to show y'all the best ways, the absolute best practices that you need to do before you start recording so that the experience is a whole lot more enjoyable for everybody, so that your clients are getting what they want out of the session and you can actually end that session with a song that sounds pretty much mixed, all right? Let's go ahead and jump into my session. I'll show you what I'm talking about. So in case you didn't know, you can actually place effects directly on a channel. So let's say I have this track right here that I'm going to explain that I just recorded some on, but you know, I'll walk y'all through this. Certain plugins, right, have latency to it. Now, latency is going to be your biggest problem when it comes to recording with effects directly on the channel. Latency basically is going to mean like when they're talking in the microphone or rapping or singing or whatever, hearing themselves back is going to be delayed, right? Because of the processing time that the DAW, the computer and the plugins and all that is taking. We want to minimize that latency while we record. Thus, a lot of people might shy away from using any effects during the recording process. But I'm here to tell you right now, you don't have to do that. All right. And if you want, actually, you can skip this video, go to my website, wavywayne.com, cop one of my recording templates, and just start recording because they already got effects on it automatically, okay? Here's a couple things we need to do in the session though to make sure that everything is Gucci. First thing you want to do is go to the setup menu and choose playback engine. Now, this is Pro Tools, but if you're working in another DAW, you need to just find out where your hardware buffer size setting is, all right? Now, in Pro Tools, it's in the setup menu and in the playback engine. Now, the hardware buffer size is going to determine the amount of latency you get based on the recording, right? The hardware buffer size determines how much processing your computer is doing at one time. The more processing it's doing, the longer it takes, the less processing, the quicker it's going to be, thus eliminating the latency that you are perceiving, okay? So the hardware buffer size that I recommend in Pro Tools is 128. If you can go lower than that, that's fine, but I like to keep those effects on because also this hardware buffer size, having this kind of set too low will restrict your ability to use any plugins at all. So since we want to be able to use some plugins while we are actually recording, we want to keep that hardware buffer size set kind of moderate, but I find that 128 is low enough that you won't incur any latency, right? You won't even be able to perceive it, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and hit okay there. Next, you just want to start to insert the plugins. Now, keep in mind that certain plugins may have some settings in it that you need to change, or some plugins you just can't use at all, right? Let me start off by making all of these plugins inactive. This is going to completely take them out of my chain. In Pro Tools, you can do this one thing. I'm going to hold the Command key and click right on this volume, and you'll be able to see how much delay this track is incurring. Basically, how much delay from these plugins is popping up on here. Once I activate, let's say my first processor, my Pro Q3, right? You see that still is giving me no latency. Now, if I open this up, that's because I'm using the 0 latency mode. If I change this to natural phase mode, right? You see now there is some delay. There's 320 samples of delay actually happening right here if I'm using natural phase mode. Luckily, this plugin defaults to being in linear phase mode, but some others don't, and some don't even give us the chance to change that. I'm going to open up my distressor compressor. Let's make this one active. Now, the distressor compressor actually has a lot of latency on it. You can see it has 1,000. Well, let's see. It's still, it has 1,143 samples of latency when that's on there. Now, that's definitely going to be noticeable by any artist, right? Check this out, though. There's this little microphone button right here at the bottom of the plugin. When I click that, look at what happens to that latency. It drops dramatically. Now, 119 samples of latency is still something, but it's not that much, right? It's really not that much, and it's not going to be detected. So while you are recording, you just want to hit that little low latency button so that it uses low latency, all right? And this works on any of your UAD plugins. You'll have this little option down at the bottom for actually recording to make sure you get to reduce the latency. Now let's go to another processor that's really intensive. I'm going to use my Auto-Tune Pro. Shout out to Auto-Tune, man. It's that new Auto-Tune right here. Let's open that up. Now this plugin right here, as you see, it has jumped my latency up to 2,789 samples. Am I using low latency mode? No, I am not. Okay, if I turn this on, now we back down to just 231 samples, which is going to be manageable. So as long as we get in, I would say less than like 500 samples of latency, then you should be good to go ahead and start recording with those effects on the track without your artist being able to perceive that something is off or going wrong to them. Okay, so make sure that you find the low latency option for that plugin if it has one, and activate it if you want to use it while you're recording. You don't have to take it off. You can actually use it. The dope thing about recording with plugins on the track already is that you get to build the sound as you are actually going through the recording process. You don't have to wait until the very end and then start to add effects and all that. You can get the sound, and then, like I said, pretty much by the session is over, by the time the session is over, you've already been EQing and compressing, doing your pitch correction. You have a product that is almost mixed. It's almost there just by being able to mix as you are going through your recording. All right, let me show y'all another thing here. One other thing that I will add here is to make sure that you're using sends and returns for your time-based effects. So I've set up a send to my reverb, and I sent it over here to this reverb track. Now on here, I'm not really worried about latency. If this reverb has any latency, we're not going to perceive that at all. It's just going to give us some atmosphere and some space. If you want to learn how to set up any sends and returns in your session, make sure you check out the video that I'll leave down in the description below. All right. So that has been a quick look at how to actually record while using effects so that you can have a session that's pretty much ready to mix. It's basically it's like the rough mix cheat code when you are working this way. All right. I'm Wavy Wayne from WavyWayne.com. Drop down in the comments and let me know what you think of this workflow, and make sure y'all subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll catch y'all on the next video. Be dope.